What's up, VC? Hey, so Acid Archives Diaries returns. I've done a few more pretty out there, more obscure ones so far in the series, and I'm going to do, for the next two or three, they're going to be definitely big titles, maybe some of the biggest titles, some of the most celebrated records in the Acid Archives, and some of the most celebrated records psychedelic-wise. And this next one is one of the most iconic covers, and I'm showing it because I finally landed an original, not a very first press, but as close as you're going to get, and it's just a stunning copy. I'm talking about the first album by the 13th Floor Elevators. Stunning condition copy. This is a stereo with the 4 columns on the back, and it's just the cleanest I've ever seen it. I've never heavily gone after these because everything I've seen has either been too beat up, not worth the price even with that considered, or just way too expensive. Everything I've seen in person that has come through at record fairs. But this one, this came via Angry Mom. That he got it at auction, and he got it for a really good price and was able to pass on a really nice price to me. And I used trade and a little bit of credit in trade, and so I only had to shell out $50 for it. Now, it was priced at pretty high price, but I was able to barter and wheel and deal. And I'm happy, so happy with the condition to this. 1966. This is again the stereo copy. If you don't know, the mono came out first in November of '66, and I think this came out a few months later. But the very first stereo, and I think the mono too, has 4 columns or 3 columns of credit. This is the 4-column credit one, so this is like within a few months pressed. But I just can't get enough of the condition of the sleeve. The record is a VG++. It doesn't look perfect, but it is. You're not going to find them this clean very often. So there it is. 13th Floor Elevators. 1966, the psychedelic sounds of, one of the earliest psychedelic records I got into. Just saw the cover at a record store in around 99, maybe 2000, and I just had to get it. I had the old Get Back reissue, which I've since parted ways with. Up until now, I just felt like I'd never see the original. I had an original Easter Everywhere, but it was too rough. So I still have the Music of the Spheres box set. So this is the reissue with the mono and stereo enclosed, and it gives it a ton of great detail. It talks all about how, the hit of You're Gonna Miss Me. Here you can see the different pressings of You're Gonna Miss Me. It was pressed in Europe. I didn't quite realize that. Canada, Europe, mainly. I think that's mainly it. I don't know if it made it to South America, but it reached number 55 in the national pop charts. And right when it was breaking, the band was hitting Texas pretty hard and experimenting with, hallucinogenic drugs. And already from the beginning, the Texas police was after them, and they hauled out to San Francisco to try to sort of, hit the scene and expand their sound, expand their reach, while You're Gonna Miss Me was becoming a hit. The original was recorded for the Contact label, which I saw that Vinyl Piper, he's got the original Contact single, but Leland Rogers somehow made a deal with the Contact guy, I'm forgetting his name, and was able to reissue it on International Artists. The way these things were done back then, it was probably done shadily, and the band really probably wasn't having any say in it. This is the booklet from the box set, which is tons of great photos and info. Here it is. Here's the entry on this record, and this is the very first use of psychedelic really in a record in terms of cover art. It just beat out the Blues Magoos and the Deep. And so I still have this box set. Rocky Erickson, Stacey Sutherland, the band was with Tommy Hall doing the jug. It really revolved around them three, and the bassists and drummers jumped around a little bit. I'm trying to find the page with all the different pressings. Of course, Easter Everywhere is many people's favorite, and I kind of rank them equal. I mean, they're both amazing. This is a seminal record, really, when it comes down to it. It just, you know, it's prime garage psychedelic, and Tommy Hall's Jug. They were really trying to induce what it was like to be on acid, and so that was his contribution. Of course, Tommy Hall was also the most mystical of the group, where Rocky Erickson was going through a mental illness, and all of the acid they were taking every day, I mean, can only contribute to, you know, losing it a bit. I mean, they were driving back and forth from San Francisco to Texas, like, within days. And they came back to record in Texas in the fall of '66, and went right back to San Francisco, tripping on acid the whole time. I mean, it's insane what they were doing, and it eventually caught up to them, and it cut their career short, but not too short. This record actually sold fairly well, like 40,000 copies, compared to Easter Everywhere, which was kind of a bomb. But of course, it does include You're Gonna Miss Me. Lead track. Apparently, they didn't want it to be the lead track. And, you know, yeah, you have all of Tommy Hall. You have Leland Rogers, sort of funny. He's talking all about how, like, the great success of the band here in Green. And then Tommy Hall's mystic sort of, like, stuff on the other side. But, yeah, I mean, this song hit after hit. I mean, it's just nonstop. There's a few duds. I mean, Monkey Island's not great, but I mean, Roller Coaster's great. Reverberation, apparently they were taking DMT when they were making that track. Don't Fall Down is a really sort of like more moody, a little bit folky. And yeah, You're Gonna Miss Me. I mean, the first time I heard that, I was just knocked out. So yeah, by the way, the auction house value on this record was $750. That's what they valued it at. I paid $50. No. Well, yeah, there it is again. International artists. Really happy to get it and not have to shell out much for it. So I will now, as we like to do in these videos. And yes, I do like to read out of this book. I don't find it so boring myself, but everyone should do these videos the way they want to. If you're going to contribute, it's totally cool. Do them how you want to. There is a playlist. I'm adding everybody's videos to the playlist, so fear not. All right, let's go to 13th Floor Elevators. It is in here, even though it's basically like it's not a major label, but it is international artists. You know, there was some serious money behind it. Leland Rogers' brother, Willie, definitely was maybe not doing right by the band, but ultimately deserves credit for helping them, you know, achieve success. But man, they were just to come out of the gate with You're Gonna Miss Me and some of these songs. I mean, Rocky Erickson's voice, I mean, you just can't be overstated. Anyway, 13th Floor Elevators. There's a huge page on them. We'll read the psychedelic sounds. And so, yeah, it was released on mono first, then stereo after. Apparently, the band didn't like the mono mix at first. And then you have, in 1978, Radar Records, I think it was, in the UK, issued official reissues. And I think everything after is all digitally sourced. I think apparently these masters are gone. I believe that's right. But let's read from the Acid Archives, shall we? Okay. It's not too long of an entry. International artist, 1966. Austin, Texas. Despite its conceptual, groundbreaking nature, the Elevators' debut album was assembled from the scattered recordings from a 9-month period after You're Gonna Miss Me, which is true. They recorded it in January of '66, the single, as well as the B-side, and then everything else came 9 months later in the fall. It became an scattered recordings from a 9-month period after You're Gonna Miss Me became an unexpected national hit. The mono LP was released in late November '66, thus competing with the Deep and Blues Magoos as the very first psychedelic titled album. The music, in case anyone needs to know, is a fine breathing blend of garage, folk rock, and embryonic psychedelia, the latter representing by the two pioneering numbers, Roller Coaster and Kingdom of Heaven. The LP was an underground hit and went on to sell some 40,000 copies. All promos and early runs of the mono stock have a slightly different back cover, with a street address for IA and no credit to Gordon Bynum. Gordon Bynum was the guy who did Contact and recorded You're Gonna Miss Me. Due to stamper degeneration, this variation may be preferable to later runs. Although 1966 is the nominal release year for the stereo version, it probably wasn't mixed and released until a few months into 1967. The mono mix is clearly superior. I don't know, this stereo sounds amazing. And it's particularly evident on Roller Coaster and Monkey Island, where the stereo mixes sound unfinished and should be avoided. I don't agree. No stereo promos exist. The IA box set reissue is identifiable via a matrix number that begins ACH. Post-1980 reissues are too numerous to list. The crucial fact is none of these reissues, including those above, are from master tapes. The mixed-down masters were lost in the early 70s and have never been found. The preferable mono mix has been bootlegged twice in the late 90s. All other reissues are the inferior stereo mix. I've played this a bunch of times, and I got this in January, late January, early February. That's part of the reason why I wanted to include it, because it is sort of a new record for me. New acquisition. But this thing sounds incredible to me. And look at that cover. So, a classic psychedelic record. Happy to finally have it home. Yes, hopefully I can complete the other originals. But we move on with the Asset Archives. This entry, 13th Floor Over, is the psychedelic sounds of 1966.